So it's Mental Health Monday, and from the martial mystic perspective, mental health begins with the reality that death is real, impermanence is real, and violence exists. And to suppress these truths fractures the psyche. And the mystic prepares for death not by obsessing over it, but by befriending impermanence. The martial artist prepares for conflict not by seeking it, but by regulating the nervous system to meet challenge without collapse or cruelty. And we'll be going deeper into these concepts as we move forward in this series. The question that I want to pose to you is, what do you do? What strategies do you employ for mental health and mental well-being in this day and age? And what is impermanence to you? What symbolizes impermanence to you? And how do you harmonize or come to peace with your own impermanence? And this is the path that I've embarked on. And realistically speaking, we do have an end date, an expiration date. And we know that this physical body in this physical realm comes to an end for us as we continue on our journeys. And for many people throughout the millennia, they've tried to understand the meaning and the why and the how of the soul's journey. And as meditators and contemplatives, and these are some of the larger questions that come into play. And I think in times like this, here we are in January 2026, the things that we see in the world shift, for many of us, shock the system. And these questions that we often put on the back burner of why are we here and what are we here to do, I think, at least for me, come into the forefront. So, what do you do? How do you live? What choices do you make? And what are the conditions that you'd like to create? Because we can't force things. In Qigong, we say we can only create the conditions. And when we create the conditions, we have a predicted outcome, the probability by which the benefits can emerge. But we can only really create the conditions. For example, eating well, sleeping well. My grandmaster would always say, eat good food, read good books, have good friends, think good thoughts. And so in a way, this is an idea of how we can create mental health. But for the sake of martial arts movement, training, and application and practice, the approach that I take for mental health is what would be called a bottom-up approach, where the current practice and standard of care for mental health and well-being could be considered a top-down approach. For example, therapy or consultation, in which you have some interactive dialogue with a therapist, or you take a course, or maybe you read a book or your Bible, and you have an intellectual exchange within the mind and what we call the upper energy center, the head, so that can affect your attitude, your mood, hence your actions and your outlook and your movements in application. I would suggest in Tai Chi and Qigong, we are presented with a bottom-up approach. Bottom-up approach explores the idea of mental health through the body. So slow, continuous movement, similar to Tai Chi and Qigong, that relaxes the body, engages the body so as to affect the mind and the mental state. Another thing that I wanted to mention was the idea of altered states and regulation and dysregulation. In Qigong, we talk about the five regulations: the body, the breath, the mind, the qi, and the spirit. And the concept, the idea that a good way to think about it is habits, habits that regulate your body and your health benefits, habits that regulate your breathing and your lung benefits. We know that breathing is important for many things, and that breathing and breathing practices and breathing strategies affect your mental health and your mental state. And then we have the mind. What are you looking at, exposing yourself to? Maybe you have a mantra practice or singing that's helping to regulate your mind. And what are the thoughts? And what is the concept of thinking regulation or mind regulation, habit forming, energy habits, and spiritual habits that help maintain your mental state? And often we can think of states where we are under the influence, or we have been under the influence, or we can see that others are under the influence in regards to power. A good example is alcohol. We can see that alcohol is a social lubricant, and it helps to relax the body and mitigate social anxiety. So we know how substances affect our mental states. Psychedelics are being researched to improve upon PTSD and other trauma states. And so the question I ask, and please let me know what you think, what habits you're forming or what you've been exposed to, because I'm just giving you what I've been exposed to and what I've acquired in terms of skills and strategies, and what helps me as a young kid who started practicing karate at an early age. And I realized that this movement practice, I couldn't fathom being here and talking about it at 40 years old. But in hindsight, I realized that martial arts has played a key role in my mental state and mental well-being throughout the development and throughout my upbringing and into my adolescence and adult years, and um, even into my later years. It's going to play a big role. And please continue to follow this journey as the story unfolds. So I'll talk more about that as we go on in terms of Neisha Gong Fu and the pursuit of internal vision and just learning deeply about myself and what makes me tick, what makes me move, and what keeps me sane and healthy in a changing world. So feel free to comment, direct message me, or you can book a call, and I'll share the links so that you can have a free consultation. And we also have courses available, which I'll share, that can help with the bottom-up approach, should that be something that you're interested in pursuing. Stay tuned. In the next segment, we'll be talking about this month's calendar poetry and how it ties in to mental health.